Hello from the capital Kabul and welcome to the special interview on Al Arabiya with Fawzia Koofi. She is the president of the Movement of Change Party and a member of the Afghan negotiation team with Taliban. What is the role of the woman in Loya Jirga?
First of all, welcome to Kabul. It's good to see friends coming back to Kabul. We just concluded Loya Jirga, where we asked for 30 to 40% women participation. This is a traditional council where people, traditionally in Afghanistan, the politicians get together to talk about major issues in Afghanistan. So the release of 4,000 prisoners of Taliban was a major issue, and therefore Loya Jirga was convened, and we demanded for 40% women participation. There were around 800 women, which was 35%. That is very historic because historically women were not part of the Loya Jirga or the Ground Council. But above all, I'm very happy because women demand and their requests were included in the concluding declaration of the Jirga, which is something positive and women were happy about.
How would you describe the situation of Afghan women in Afghanistan nowadays?
If you compare the situation with the Taliban time, of course, there is nothing to compare because things have changed greatly for the public in general, but especially for women. You look at the women political participation, there are 25% of parliamentarians are women. We have women in the security sector, not only as low-level officials, but also as decision makers. Women are ministers in the decision-maker positions. But also, if you go out of Kabul, you see that there is a transformation in the society. However, the history of women movement in Afghanistan does not start after the Taliban regime. There is a long history. We had, through our history, women participation, but it was always full of challenge. So if you look at now, there are opportunities, there is progress, but there are still a lot of problems. Violence, access to economic resources, still political participation, the perception of society. These are major challenges, and above all, going forward on the peace process, this is something that women are worried about.
What did the struggle woman or Afghan woman achieve?
I think the major achievement for women of Afghanistan is that in our constitution, equality for rights are guaranteed. So every citizen in Afghanistan, according to the law, has equal rights. 40 to 45% of the people who go to school are girls. Although Afghanistan is still one of those countries where the literacy rate is very low, but the new generation are coming forward. They go to school, and as I said before, 40 to 45% of our students are girls. Health workers in the villages, in the societies. Women start business and entrepreneurship, small businesses. These are like the achievements we have. Mm-hmm. But working for women, it's never easy. And there is always challenge, not only in Afghanistan, but anywhere in the world.
What about the school? They are mixed, boys and girls, or not yet?
We have a co-education system where boys and girls go to the same classes in the primary, high school, but also at the university level.
What role do women play in Afghanistan in politics, economy, and education?
Women in Afghanistan play an important role as voters, as people who participate in the election. For instance, in 2014, a presidential election, 39% of the voters were women. In the last 2019 presidential election, 35% of the women were the voters were women. Women ran as candidate. For instance, when I ran from my constituents for parliament, we have a constitutional quota for women. We have 25% reserved seats in the constitution. But there are women who were elected based on a general seats. I was elected twice to parliament on a general seat, not on quota. Women ministers, as indicated before, we have women who are the leaders in official position in the security sector, which is not a very common job for women anywhere in the world, in Afghanistan in particular. Women in business, women in education. We have a robotic team who is award-winning robotic team that makes robots and participated in many international festivals. They're our proud. So I believe if we give women of Afghanistan, or if we give women opportunity anywhere in the world, they will grab the opportunity and use it. The problem with women in Afghanistan have always been that they have been given less opportunities.
You are a member of the Afghan negotiation team with Taliban, and you had a lot and a hard time with Taliban. How do you evaluate this experience?
I believe that women usually have not been involved in peace processes around the world to the extent that they deserve. Although women in Afghanistan have not luckily been part of the war, part of the last 40 years of war, but they want to be part of the peace, because we believe without women, peace will not be long-lasting. Peace will not achieve with justice. So women, as 55% of the society, should be part of these negotiations. I already met Taliban 3 times before, twice in Moscow, once in Qatar, and I think Taliban should understand that Afghanistan today has progressed, that Afghanistan today has changed, that Afghanistan today is a diverse society where not only the main gender of the society, but also women, younger generation, they participate equally in the progress of the society. However, Taliban had some views which many people in Afghanistan do not share that view. For instance, Taliban say women in a Muslim country cannot be the president, or women cannot be judged in a particular issues in Muslim countries. While you look at the other Muslim country, for instance, around us, our neighbors, there are Muslim women who have led the country. So I think we have to really, Taliban have to adopt based on the recent Afghanistan. We will have a long and hard time, I think, but I'm prepared, because I think as women we have to really enter the no-entry zones. We have to enter where it's not common for us and challenge that.
How they treated you?
Well, I was representing my country. They had to be respectful because I was the representative of New Afghanistan. But I think going deep into the discussions when the intra-Afghan negotiations start, which we hope very soon it will start, we will have some hard time. It's not always easy. It's not nice, because even in the parliament, I had difficult time sometimes dealing with some of the male member of parliament, my colleagues. I had difficult times with them. We always, every day in our lifetime, we have difficult time facing the situation. So it's not a very common challenge for us to see that we are not treated well by Taliban, because we are not treated well anywhere we go.
Do the terms of the agreement address the status of Afghan women, their rights and their protection from violence?
We are still in the process of agreeing with Taliban. So we hope that the agreement that we want to sign about bringing peace in Afghanistan with Taliban will be comprehensive, and women rights, their protection, the future of the participation in the government will be the major part of the agreement. However, in the past dialogues that we had with Taliban, there were declarations or joint statements that were issued, and I was part of drafting that joint statements. I know Taliban did not like some terms. For instance, they were not happy about the terms of women international human rights because they said the international human rights is against Islam. So we will have some, as I said before, we have to make sure that women issue is incorporated into any stage during the agreement, because I think women's rights in Afghanistan is interconnected with many progress, with freedom of speech, for instance, with freedom of political gatherings and political participation. So if you really ignore women's rights in this process, that means democracy is not completed. That means other freedoms and values will also be undermined.
What about the other terms, not only just about women, other terms?
Well, I actually, as woman member of the negotiation team, my expectation is that the public in Afghanistan should not expect only the 4 women member of this negotiation team to talk about women's rights during the talks. Because as I said, women's rights is interconnected to democracy, to freedom of speech, to how the future government of Afghanistan will be. Are we going to have a democracy? Are we going to have an emirate? Are we going to have a republic? What will be the future of the government basically will be defined by how much, to what extent women will participate. So therefore, I think the matter for women is not just for women. It's about all the values.
Are you satisfied with the status of women in Afghanistan, and how can they be more effective and powerful in society, do you think?
No, I'm not satisfied. I will be satisfied when I see this country, which is full of history of civilization, where women had a role to play in major decision making, will lead this country one time. I hope when I see that this country is being led by a woman, then I will be satisfied. My struggle, and I think the struggle of many women in Afghanistan and men, hopefully, will continue to the time where we see Afghanistan is being led by a woman.
Why did you ask for an apology to women from Loya Jirga? I saw this on Twitter. A tweet for you.
Yeah, during Loya Jirga, it's a big council where people from different perspectives, different background, different political beliefs come together, more than 3,500 people. Of course, they have different views, and it's difficult to manage all the views, and not possible and not good to manage all the views. So there was a woman who was asking not to give away rights of women or not to make a deal out of the rights of women during these peace talks. And she was insulted by another participant or another woman who was an employee of the government. So, and this woman who asked for more rights for women and for the people was a member of parliament. So she was a politician. So I think it was a misrespect, and I asked the leadership of the government and the leadership of the Jirga to apologize. And I'm glad that they did, because that will definitely heal the wounds that women of Afghanistan have had through the 4 decades of war with the discrimination and injustice that they have faced.
You met with a group of businesswomen to discuss women's issues in the peace talks. What were their demands?
Before we go for an intra-Afghan negotiations, we met different groups of people. We met civil society, women groups from the civil society, from the business community, from the education community, even housewives. We met men from across walks of life to get their views and see what they want, what is their definition of peace, and also to ensure that their perspectives, their views are included in our negotiations. Women business leaders, or women who were in the business community, their demand was to make sure that that post-peace process, women have access to more opportunities, and Afghan women products are connected with regional country, because right now we are a landlocked country. Not a lot of women products are not exported, so there is no market. What they want is to, their demand to us, to the negotiation team, was that we need to make sure that women's rights are protected, especially rights to economic resources, rights to property, and opportunities for them to export their products and be connected with the world.
Has society's perception of Afghan women changed, especially from leaders?
To the great extent, yes. The fact that I can publicly ask the leaders to apologize to women, that is a perception change. And the fact that the leaders come and apologize, I think that is a perception, change of perception. However, still we're living in a very unequal world, right? Afghanistan is not exception to the rest of the world. In fact, Afghanistan is the worst place in the world to be a woman. So we have a long battle to still carry on. The world is still a very unequal world. The opportunities are not equal: education opportunity, wealth distribution, access to jobs and resources. And Afghanistan is no exception. In fact, in Afghanistan, we have tried to make some of the things which were regarded as taboos part of the norms of society. For instance, women participation in jirgas or in politics was not very common. Now, women make the major part of decision-making in politics.
Men, they accept this?
I divide the men in two categories. One is those ordinary men of Afghanistan who are living in the society, and I think they have transformed. They're ready to accept this change. And in fact, when I ran for parliament, a lot of my voters were men, not only women. Men voted for me, and for many other women in Afghanistan. But when it comes to political men, political leaders, they're afraid that they will lose power if the woman becomes stronger. So therefore, I think it's a struggle over power. They think that if women become stronger, that will replace some of these men. And people will definitely vote for a woman if you really, if it's a matter of choice between a man leader and a woman leader, many people will actually choose a woman. So I think it's a struggle over power.
What was the role of Afghan women in facing the corona pandemic?
Many women actually lost their jobs. Women faced enormous challenges, like many parts of the society during the pandemic. Women were especially economically affected, and also they were affected by domestic violence because they had most of these women had daily paid jobs, and they lost it because of the lockdown. And they had to stay home, or the man had to stay home, and the woman had to spend time with their basically abusers or violator. So it was not a very good experience for women in Afghanistan. However, a lot of young girls and young women played an important role in raising awareness. Even during the pandemic, they were in the streets raising awareness about the pandemic. They were making face masks and voluntarily distributing it to the public. So I think there was an image which was about the problems that women faced, which was the economical impact of the pandemic, the violence that women faced. But on the other hand, there was another image which was about how women could be the change makers in terms of raising awareness, producing masks, being active on social media, trying to disseminate message to the people so that people stay home. I think it was a mixed message, like many parts of the world, I guess.
Afghan society consider Fawzia Koofi an icon of brave and strong women. What do you say to Afghan women and to the society?
Well, that's very nice to hear this, because working for women and human rights is such a challenging job that it's like you basically put your forehead in the stone every day, and your forehead breaks apart, and then the next day you repair it and you start the struggle again. I think women of Afghanistan deserve some role models. I think women of Afghanistan deserve some examples so that they're led by examples, and they see women who can impact change, so that they also have that courage to get out. The life I have gone through as a woman, the challenges I have faced during war, post-war, and the discrimination that I have faced actually gave me more reasons, more passions to move forward. And I'm happy that I can at least inspire some women. And it's great to attend such gatherings like the Loya Jirga, where I met a woman and she said, am I in a conscious or out of conscious? Am I really seeing you? Because probably I have motivated her many times that she was completely down. We need leaders, women leaders, to motivate the rest of the world, to motivate the rest of the women in the world.
You are a writer. You have the book Letters to My Daughters, and it's translated to many languages. Tell us about it.
Yes, my book is an autobiography, and I actually wrote actual farewell letters to my daughters. I have 2 daughters. And these letters, once I decided to bring them to a book, and the letters are actually addressed to my daughters, but not only to them, now to the girls of Afghanistan. Each chapter of the book starts with a letter that I wrote to my daughters as farewell letters. And the main emphasis of my letters were for my daughters to pursue education, because if I was not educated, I would have not been the same person that I am today. Probably I would have married, have children, and lived in a village which was only able to help myself and my family, not other women. The fact that I can help other people, not only women, but men, or other politicians, or yourself, because we are educated. So my message to my daughters were to get education and be brave to face the reality and work for change, if you really believe in that change. And I'm glad that this book, as you said rightly, is well accepted in the world, translated into 40 languages. And I'm glad that I receive daily basis emails that how the letters inspire the younger generation globally.
Thank you so much, Fawzia Koofi, for having us in your house and in Kabul. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for coming over.